Right now, someone is about to sell a set of old irons at a yard sale for $20. The same set that, 2 states over, just sold for more than $2,000. Not because they were rare, because of one stamp on the back the seller never read. So how do 2 nearly identical old irons end up 100 times apart in price? The answer is stamped into the metal. Here are the 8 stamps on your irons, what each one means, and the one at number 1 that turns a forgotten set into a small fortune. Number 8, the number on the sole. Start with the obvious one, because most golfers read it and stopped there. That number stamped near the bottom of the club, the 5, the 7, the letters PW, is just the loft family. Bigger number, more loft, shorter shot. But that little stamp is quietly telling you something about money too. A set is only worth real money when it's a matched set. Same brand, same model, same era, running in order with nothing missing. The moment a set gets broken up, a 3-iron wanders off, someone drops in a mismatched wedge, the value falls off a cliff. Loose single vintage irons sell for $10 to $20 each on completed eBay listings, and that's on a good day. A clean matched run of the same club sells for many times that. Here's your first exception, though. A few single irons are worth chasing on their own. An old Ben Hogan Apex, 1 iron, the thin so-called butter knife that almost nobody could hit, is a piece collectors will pay up for by itself. And notice what Hogan stamped on his pitching wedge. Not PW. The word equalizer. That's not a typo, by the way. That's the tell that you're holding a genuine Hogan, and that name comes back near the top of this list. Number 7. The word forged. Here's the one everybody has heard of and almost nobody can actually use. In plain terms, forged means the head was hammered from a single piece of soft steel, and cast means it was poured into a mold like a muffin. Forged costs more to make, feels softer at impact, a kind of buttery thud the good players chase, and for decades it was the mark of a serious club. So people see forged stamped on the back and assume dollar signs. Slow down. Forged by itself is not money. Plenty of forged sets, including old Titleist and Hogan blades, sell for $40 to $80 all day long. Because once you got past the cheap department store clubs, forged was ordinary. The trick is to read forged alongside the brand and the origin, never on its own. Now the part people get backwards. The absence of the word forged does not mean junk. Some of the most collectible irons ever made were never forged at all, and we're about to get to a set of cast irons that outsells forged clubs half their age. Number 6, made in USA or made in Japan. Flip the club and find where it was born, because origin moves the number more than most people expect. For most of the last century, made in USA was the standard on a good American set. Then the Japanese factories quietly became the finest forgers on earth. A club stamped made in Japan, especially one that also says it was forged, was built for a market that treats soft feel like a religion. And those clubs tend to hold their value far better than an equivalent American cast set. Same age, same wear, and the Japan forged set can be worth several times the USA cast one. And whatever the origin says, never buff that stamp off, trying to make an old soul look new. Because polishing the marking away is how people erase value by accident. That gap only widens as you climb this list. Hold that stamp in your head, because it comes back at number 2. And at number 2, it's the difference between spare change and a serious payday. Number 5. Ping's dot, cereal, and the letters BECU. Now the decoding gets fun, because Ping stamps more information on a club than any brand of its era. That colored dot near the hosel, black, blue, red, and the rest, is not a quality grade. It's the lie angle, the fitting spec for how the club sits at a dress. So don't pay extra for a red dot thinking it's rare. It isn't. What does matter is the serial number, and whether it matches across the whole set. A Ping set with matching serials is worth noticeably more than a cobbled together one. Then there's the code that makes collectors lean in, BECU. That stands for beryllium copper, a heavier copper alloy Ping used in the 1980s, and those heads have a look and a feel people still chase. For a couple of those years, the clubs also carried square grooves, right before the pros and the rule makers went to war over whether square grooves put too much spin on the ball. The heads stamped inside that window got grandfathered in, and collectors know exactly which ones they are. This is the payoff to what I said a minute ago. Ping is cast, and it doesn't carry the word forged anywhere on it. Doesn't matter one bit. A beryllium copper Ping I2 set from the 80s sells in the $400 to $600 range on completed listings, and the copper wedges alone bring $80 to $100 each. Number 4, the Wilson Staff script. Look for a small shield and the words Wilson Staff, usually next to a model name like Dyna Power, or the phrase fluid feel curved across the back. That script is doing real work. Wilson made 2 completely different kinds of club under one roof. The Wilson Staff line was the forged, tour-level set the good players carried. The plain Wilson and Ultra box sets off the same shelf were cheap cast beginner clubs. One name on the bag, and the gap in what they're worth is enormous. A clean vintage Wilson Staff Dyna Power set with the fluid feel hosel sells for roughly $40 to $175 depending on condition, based on completed sales, with singles down around $10 to $40. Respectable, not life-changing. But here's the detail the collectors hunt for. Wilson made a handful of factory custom order runs, things like the late 60s bullet back, plus a few sealed commemorative sets that never got played. Those blow past everything I just quoted. Same shield on the back. Much rarer stamp underneath it. Quick pause, because if you're finding this useful, do me one favor. Hit subscribe. This channel exists to get your own gear read, honestly, before you sell it for pennies. And drop a comment right now with the brand stamped on the oldest set you own. I read every one, and I call out the interesting ones. All right. Let's get to the 3 stamps that make dealers sit up straight. Number 3, the pro-pedigree name. This is the one your grandfather's bag most likely hides, and it's the one that lands hardest if you remember golf in the persimmon days. Find a MacGregor stamped Silver Scott or Tourney, or a small registration number like 915 or 985. Or find a Hogan stamped Apex, made in Fort Worth, Texas. Those aren't marketing words. For roughly 30 years, from the 1930s into the 1960s, MacGregor was the club the touring pros actually carried, more than every other brand combined at its peak. Silver Scott honored Tommy Armour, one of the great players and teachers of that age. The initials MT on an old MacGregor point to Tony Penna, the craftsman who shaped those blades by hand. Then a young Jack Nicklaus signed with the company in 1960 and put those irons in front of the entire world. Hogan built his Apex line in his own Fort Worth shop to standards that bordered on obsessive. Picture the bag those came out of. The persimmon woods with the fiber inserts. The leather grips gone hard and shiny. The head covers with the little pom-poms. That's the era these stamps belong to. So what does all that pedigree get you? Honestly, a common Tommy Armour or Apex set in average shape still only brings about $50 to $170 on completed sales, so don't expect a fortune from a rusty, mismatched bag. The value lives in the rare models and the clean, complete ones. Certain rarer MacGregor models run $500 to $800 at dealers, and a mint match set that still has its original woods climbs well past that. The name is the door. Condition and model decide the room. Number 2. Grain Flow Forged, and a Japanese maker. Remember that Made in Japan stamp from number 6? Here's where it pays off. If you find the phrase Grain Flow Forged, that's Mizuno's process, and it's about the highest forging pedigree a normal players club can carry. Mizuno forges those heads at a plant in Japan that treats the whole job like a craft instead of a factory line. And if you turn a blade over and find the name Miura, stop what you're doing. Miura heads are forged in Japan and then hand ground by a master craftsman to a tolerance of about half a gram. That is exactly why the company can't mass produce them, and it's why the same simple shapes cost more than clubs with 10 times the marketing behind them. This is the exception I've been promising on every single item. These are the plain-looking blades, no flash, no oversized cavity, that quietly carry real money. New Miura irons run $279 to $339 per club at dealers. Used sets sell in the $250 to $760 range on completed listings, and limited runs push well past $1,300. So a tired old blade that looks like nothing off the rack can be the single most valuable club in the entire bag, purely because of the name ground into the back of the head. That's the whole lesson of this list in one club. Number 1, tour issue. Here's the stamp that turns a forgotten set into the biggest check of all. Somewhere on the head, look for the words tour issue, or a set of initials, or a single player's name that was never sold as a retail model. Those clubs were built for a tour player, in tiny numbers that never touched a store shelf. And here's the twist that ties this whole list together. Some of the biggest brand names on earth quietly had the best Japanese forges build their tour clubs for them. A run of Nike blades was actually forged by Miura and stamped tour issue, and one rare set like that recently sold for around $2,200. Ordinary tour issue Miura sets change hands from $600 to $1,500 on completed listings. And when a club can be traced to a specific champion, the number leaves the atmosphere. Nicklaus's own MacGregor irons sit behind museum glass and sell at auction as history, not as golf clubs. That's the kind of number that makes an accountant weep. Same shape as something sitting in 1,000 garages tonight. Same steel. One extra stamp on the back, and the price runs away from every club we have talked about. So think back to that yard sale set from the start, the one about to go for $20. Nothing about it looks like money from across the driveway. The bag is tired, the grips are cracked, the chrome is dull. It's only when you turn one club over and actually read what's stamped into the steel that you find out whether you're holding a $15 relic or a small fortune somebody forgot to inspect. Almost nobody turns the club over. Now you're not one of them. You know, to check the sole for a matched set, the back for the word forged, the origin line for made in Japan, the hosel for Ping's cereal, and the whole head for a maker like Miura, or the words tour issue. So before you let a single old iron leave your hands, read the back first. The stamp is the whole story. Speaking of the whole story, next time I'm breaking down the handful of words hidden on old drivers and woods that quietly add a zero to the price. If there's a dusty persimmon head sitting in your garage, watch that one before you let it go.